Screen actors, this video might ruffle a lot of feathers, and if it does, great, because then we might start asking important questions that sometimes people are afraid to ask. In this video, I'm going to cover the 5 big lies about acting that could be making you uptight and holding you back from having a great career. I'm Louis DeBianco, and this is my channel, Screen Acting Success. This is where you come every Friday for the tips, the techniques, and the secrets that will help you to become a very compelling, marketable on-screen actor. Everything that I teach here is stuff that I learned in the real world that is not theory. This is stuff that works. I learned it by acting in front of the camera for more than 40 years and by teaching actors and watching them go on to gain confidence and have wonderful careers. If this is your first time visiting the channel, definitely click subscribe and give the video a thumbs up. Okay, let's get into it. And by the way, stick around because one of the last ones, I think it's the last, number 5, is one that upsets people sometimes, and it won't upset you. Lie number 1 is the lie about training. You must get training to become a good or great actor. Wow, I'm saying that you don't. In fact, there are many wonderful actors, and you're going to learn about them in this video, who have had no training at all and are fantastic. They go on to have great careers. Mind you, I'm not saying don't get training. I'm saying don't believe that without it you can't develop acting talent and skills. And what it takes to be an actor is really honesty, openness. Can you be vulnerable in front of the camera? Can you share your true emotions and have a real conversation with other people? If you can, that's what you need to build on to become a wonderful, interesting, truthful actor. Lie number 2. You must have a headshot in order to be considered for roles. Do you need a headshot? Well, you won't get a good agent without one, and casting directors definitely want to see them. I have headshots, and I have a good agent who promotes me and uses my headshot. But what's important to know is that even if you didn't have one, there are other ways to be seen, especially today with the internet and with an imagination, and that you're not limited to that one promotional tool that without which you won't work. Now I'm going to start giving you some examples. 2 examples I love to talk about. I'm going to call them the beach and the bank stories. The beach story. Years ago, when Robert De Niro had his directorial debut in the wonderful film The Bronx Tale, see it if you haven't, written by and starring Chaz Palminteri, whom I had the great pleasure to get to know and work with on a film called Boss of Bosses. In The Bronx Tale, there was a very, very important role, Robert De Niro's son. And, of course, it was a crucial role. So, how did Lilo Brancato get that role that launched his acting career? This is the beach story. Lilo was a guy from New York City, from the Bronx. On a hot summer day, he was at Jones Beach, which is an oceanside beach where people get to swim and play with big waves in the Atlantic Ocean. And he wasn't thinking about acting because he wasn't an actor, he hadn't studied acting, blah, blah, blah. On that same beach was a talent scout who happened to notice Lilo and said, wow, this young man looks like a young De Niro. Went up, struck up a conversation with him, told him about the movie and that they were looking for De Niro's son, and Lilo Brancato began to impersonate Robert De Niro. He began to do some wonderful imitations, especially from Taxi Driver, enough that he impressed that talent scout. Talent scout brings the news back to Bobby D, and Lilo gets a screen test. In fact, he got more than one screen test. He got this major role. It did launch his career. Remember, no headshot, no training. The bank story. There was a wonderful actress who was struggling in Hollywood like many others, and of course, money was an issue. One day she goes into a bank, she had an out-of-state check, and she needed to get cash like yesterday. Well, the bank manager looks at the check and says, can't cash it because it's from out of state. She begins to lose it and gets into an argument with the manager. There was a talent manager in the bank, noticed the argument, and saw something in this young woman because of the energy that was coming out of her. Approached her, the rest is history. This man got her into movies, and she went on to have a pretty good career. Does the name Charlize Theron mean anything to you? No headshot that launched that career, and no training either. Number 3 lie, the lie about acting techniques. Oh, people have passionate arguments about the fact that when you act for the camera, if you're not using the method, then you're inferior. Or if you're not using Meisner, then you don't know your stuff. Well, I began with method, love a lot of that technique, and I also learned Meisner, and I love his work. But you know what? At the end of the day, there is no one technique that's going to make you a good or a great actor. And here's what I learned by working for so many years, that ultimately you will have to discover and develop, refine your own technique that gives you an unshakable confidence when you get in front of the camera. Because ultimately, it's the confidence that reads. And there isn't one school that has the monopoly on confidence and ease. When I worked on a series for 3 years, this is where I really learned this lesson, because being in front of the camera day after day after day, so many times I found myself in situations that never learned about in class, never learned about in a book. I just had to use my instincts and my self-trust, my confidence to get through and to give a good performance. And you're going to be faced with that too as you work more and more. So techniques are part of a cult that makes teachers feel important. Don't believe that there is one way. Find your own. Lie number 4 is the typecasting lie. That lie basically says that once your type has been defined, that's what you will have to play. And that you, for most of you won't be able to step out of it. Not true. It's important to know what the types are in the area where you work. If you're in the United States, if you're in Canada, if you're in Europe, the UK, the types are similar, but there are differences in each locale. Know them well, and know the ones that you will be seen for. But here's the important thing. When you realize that a type is just an opinion, that a type is, well, it has to do with what's popular and culturally accepted at the time, what's considered handsome, beautiful, can change. You know, there was a day when an actor like Paul Giamatti would not be considered for lead roles because the types of, certainly the 1950s, the studio system, were very, very specific, tall, handsome, athletic types. That's not Paul Giamatti today. He's a star and he does carry films. So types do change. And why it's important to know that they're not carved in stone, it's not a straitjacket for you, is that you will be their master and not their slave. Then we have the big one that a lot of people get upset to hear. There are many actors who feel that they have a special gift, and they do, and they want to believe that they were born with that. That people are born with talent, that if you don't have that gift and it's not visible and it's not demonstrated right away, that you probably don't have it. Not true. I used to believe that. Then I began to discover that you can take anyone. I can take anyone. Any age, any background. As long as they have a burning desire and they're able to be honest in front of the camera. That they're able to open up emotionally and be vulnerable, I can train them to act. And if they really want to cultivate their skills, they can even go on to get have stellar careers. Another thing to think about is children. Very often in films, you'll see really, really young kids, maybe 5 or 6 years old, who are astonishing. I mean, they're just so natural and truthful. They're fully there emotionally. Yes, they're probably being trained, but maybe they don't have much training. Maybe they don't have any at all. What's important is that their instincts as children, which are the instincts to play, to be spontaneous, to not worry about looking silly, those things are the things that really will allow you to open up creatively in front of the camera. So if you can hold on to those childlike qualities, cultivate them, you'll be so far ahead of the game. And no training in the world can give you those things. As a matter of fact, you can be trained for years, but if you're emotionally closed and you are too concerned about what other people think of the way you look, you're not going to be a good actor. That's the truth. So those are the 5 big lies. I want to emphasize why I'm being so passionate about this. Because I've discovered in life and in this business that it's really important to know the rules, to know when to follow them, but to know when you can break them, and even when you should break them. Because if you understand that these things are not, like I said, the 5 commandments of acting, that you will have the freedom when you go into an audition to take chances, because you won't be worried about what is the right way to do this role. What is the right choice and what is the wrong choice? You'll know that the only wrong choice is a choice that you don't commit to. Make a bold choice. Don't worry about right or wrong. Go for it. And more often than not, you'll stop them dead in their tracks. This tutorial is designed to give you freedom to know what the playing field is, but to also know that ultimately it comes down to you trusting who you are, believing in your dream. And here's the key. If you forget everything else, remember this. The way to become a wonderful actor is to give yourself permission to step into and live your dream. That means that if you have never acted before, but you dream about it a lot, you might even be embarrassed to say, I can't tell people because they're going to laugh at me when I say, I see myself not only on the big screen, but getting an Academy Award. A voice comes in and says, but you've never acted, you've never trained. Don't listen to that voice. A lot of people do. They go on to have safe jobs, but they live what Thoreau said were lives of quiet desperation. Be bold, take risks, trust in your dreams. And remember, you are not a slave to any of these rules. If you are, then they become lies for you. So what can you do to launch an acting career if you decide that you don't want to play by anybody's rules but your own? Number one, write something from your heart. Shoot it. Smartphone, camera, whatever you might be using now for self-tapes. Work with people you trust, other ambitious independent actors, and work on scenes that you shoot at home, and you'll judge yourself how the work is, where you need to improve. You can get free scripts from films and TV shows at sites like Script Slug. I'll put a link to that one below. And why don't you go as far as creating your own web series? Many actors are doing it. Many actors are succeeding. They're getting a tremendous following. Once you have that, you can promote yourself online and bypass all the gatekeepers. Then you decide what acting means to you and how you want acting to reward you. Scary? Yep. Doable? Yep. Go out and create it. If you've gotten value from this, please leave your takeaway in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed already, definitely give the video a thumbs up. And, oh, I'm going to put a link below to an article that talks about 16 actors whom you all know, who haven't trained and have fantastic careers. And before we bring this to an end, let's give you real examples. I talked already about Lila Brancato and Charlize Theron. Well, what about Johnny Depp? Do you think that he's a wonderful actor? He's a brilliant actor, not trained. Jennifer Lawrence, wonderful actress, not trained. Matthew McConaughey, wonderful, versatile, magnetic, not trained. Christian Bale, again, a chameleon on screen, always compelling, not trained. How about the great Ben Kingsley, Academy Award winner from England? We know that the British have such incredible training. They do. He's not a trained actor. He did win an Academy Award. Well, those are just a few. In the article, you're going to see the 16 people who have not been trained. And I want to emphasize again, I'm not telling you not to study. I'm telling you that if you do, know that you're doing it out of choice. It's not a must. Could you become great without it? Absolutely. Remember, I'm a teacher. I would love for you to take my course, but I know that my course will help you to avoid many mistakes. It could fast track you to the skills that you're dying to learn. But at the end of the day, can you get there without my great training? Absolutely. But when it comes to my great training, I am also going to put a link below to my latest online course called Screen Acting. No, that's not called that. It's called Self-Taping Mastery. And that, check out what I offer, because there are many technical things that it will teach you that will help you to avoid headaches, frustration, pulling out your hair, and maybe throwing away money. And one final thing. When you have a script in your hands, especially at an audition, always remember, this will free you up and not worry about forgetting lines, that the words are important, but they don't determine the quality of your performance. What does is the subtext beneath the words and in between the words. That's something that you bring from your inner life. No one can give it to you. If you've got that, that gives you confidence. And then, if you should forget a line, you can make one up that suits the situation. I did, and it landed me a role in a really strong movie, playing with and getting to know Chaz Palminteri. The film was The Boss of Bosses. On that note, take chances, relax. Know that only you can determine how far you're going to go, and book that next gig.